me with curious eyes. You think I'm insane. You imagine my mind traverses furtively between the cracks of reason, that I'm a creature lost, wandering in uncharted regions of the mind, who lurks in the darkest shadows of thought, places where sane men seldom travel. I am the psychological adventurer who dares trespass where you fear to tread. I acted where you would have remained silent. Perhaps you belong to one of those religious tribes, and now compare me to the heroes of your myths. Indeed, you might go as far to suggest it was the handiwork of Beelzebub, who, having breathed his darkness into my soul, made me what I am to you now. An aberration, a mutant, Satan's garroter. Concluding me insane all the same, you may even feel some pity. Yet you are fearful of pitting your goodness against his awesome evil. How can I be insane? Can a madman act with so much reason? Never. It needs a sane man to tamper with the ancient laws of nature. You will understand when I tell my tale. I cannot pinpoint exactly when I came upon my decision. Often such choices are already within us. I loved the old man, loved him like a son. He was kind and considerate, and I, in turn, was his support, the crutch of his old age. The object most repugnant to my person was his left eye. It was a cold, staring eye, bluish-grey. It would gaze out from its socket in judgment all over it surveyed, maliciously watching me, contemplated me, accused me, haunted my every move. I felt deathly pale every time that ghastly eye fell upon me, as if it were waiting for I know not what. I grew weaker day by day as it continued to torment me, taking its pleasure from my suffering. I had to act. For 7 nights at midnight, I visited his chambers. In the quiet of that deathly hour, I would peer through his door like a ghost, waiting for it to give me a sign. Having made certain my presence had not been observed by the old man, I would let a slither of light fall upon the evil eye. Even now it mocked me. For 7 nights it refused to face me, laughing hysterically in that silent room at my foiled efforts. But then, as if by chance, a miracle. On the 8th night, as I was placing the lantern on the floor, my finger caught the door latch and sounded off a most unnatural sound. I froze. I dared not stir. Like a stone statue, I listened in silence, patiently waiting for a sound from within. "Who's there?" the old man whispered in terror. I could feel his blood run cold, as if it were my own. Sitting bolt upright, he stared out into the blackness that engulfed him. I could hear his teeth chattering. He was consumed with fear. His poor heart was beating frantically, louder and louder it beat, like an engine going wild. I chuckled within myself as he desperately attempted to reassure his frozen soul. In that den of fear, I knew I held the reins of power. Nothing could save it from its fate. The time was ripe. At that moment, I released a beam of light, which cut the darkness like a knife and fell directly upon the offending eye. It was bigger than ever, monstrous in all its proportions as it stared out in fury towards me. I was looking into the depths of hell, and for a moment, I lost heart. Suddenly, As if waking from a nightmare, I pounced like a man possessed upon my prey, and within seconds had dashed it to oblivion. Then came a golden silence. I examined my work. The old man was stone dead. The eye looked blankly into space. I worked relentlessly, disposing the body, cutting it into manageable pieces. I buried him beneath the floorboards of his room. Having finished my labors, I retreated to the parlor for refreshments. There came a knocking at the street door. 2 officers of the law had heard a shriek and had come to investigate. I told them it was I, having dreamt of demons, had admitted a crime in my sleep. I insisted they search the premises. I even acted as their guide. What had I to fear? I was beaming with confidence, ecstatic about my achievement. Showing them the house was undisturbed, I bid them stay a while, and seated them in the old man's room, placing my own chair above the very spot where the corpse was concealed. They began asking me questions, which I answered succinctly at first. I was enthused, completely at ease. I was very convincing. Then I began to hear a ringing sound in my ear, very faintly to begin with, but as they talked, it grew louder, so that I was sure they had heard it. It had a familiar rhythm, but I couldn't quite place it. Their incessant questions began to grate my nerves. I began to wish for their departure. Speaking with heightened intensity, I attempted to smother the rising din, which was an uproar about my ears. Surely they could hear it. They said nothing. They would look at me, without the faintest acknowledgement, smiling. I felt they were silently laughing at me, making me the fool. It dawned on me. The ringing was not dissimilar to the beating of the heart. Yes, that was it. The old man's heart was still beating. I began to gesticulate wildly and moved about the chamber with some energy. What must they think? Why don't they arrest me? The ring was now deafening. I could not silence it. More questions agitated my nerves. It continued. In vain, talking louder and louder as the ringing reached a crescendo. My eardrums were about to burst. Stop, I confess. Like a rabid animal, I scratched and clawed at the boards imprisoning the corpse and revealed to them my crime. As I looked down, I saw the old man was indeed dead. Looking closer, I caught a glimpse of his gold watch protruding from his waistcoat pocket. It was ticking like a heart, and the eye was smiling blankly into space.